Good morning and welcome to Cows on the Isle of Wight for day 7 of the legendary Cows Week Regatta presented by Visit Abu Dhabi. Well, we've a jam-packed last day of racing here ahead of us, so let's jump right into the Musto morning briefing. Good morning to you. And it's the last day, day 7, and it's come round really quickly, Lawrence Mead.
Yeah, you weren't sure whether that was day 6 or day 7.
I know.
Were you?
Yes, I know. Well, they're all kind of rolling into one now, aren't they?
They do a little bit by the end of the week. But no, what a beautiful day.
And you're in a jacket.
I am, because I'm in the coldest spot on the Isle of Wight right now, in a northerly breeze. It is always chillier up here, and I just decided I'd also get the sponsors branding in for them.
Well, you must be looking forward to the last day, but it's pretty cracking at the moment.
I love Cows Week. I mean, by the end we are pretty tired. It's long days, but by the end you really feel, okay, we've got the machine working again. I mean, stopping and starting, we do this once a year, so getting the machine switched on and getting everybody, mindset ready is a bit of a struggle sometimes. But by the end you think, okay, great, I wish we were doing this, have a week off and do it again. And it's great racing. I mean, it's a great regatta. It's a great place. It's a great. I mean, I love it. I'm slightly biased maybe, but Fiona's been doing this longer than I have. But I mean, I've been racing here since I'm not going to say that because I'll show how old I am, for a long time. And it's just, I personally just love it. I think it's great. I love the atmosphere. The racing is incredibly challenging. I mean, I watched the Etchells race through the binoculars yesterday as they came into the finish, and it was a fetch. Okay, the wind changed, that was turned into a fetch. Some of them had spinnakers up, some didn't. Some had got the tidal offset wrong, so were trying to bear down to get inside the pin end. Others without spinnakers were coming. There were 5 of them overlapped. 3 of them have asked me this morning if I can provide the video, because they want it for their...
Indeed. Well, let's find out what the weather has in store for the last day. Fiona.
So different start this morning. We've got a nice northerly breeze. We can feel the new air masses come through. Still high pressure to the west, but it's much, much clearer. We had all that layered cloud yesterday. So these clear skies are allowing that northerly to come down to the surface. It is an offshore wind. We're going to get some heating, which means slightly fights that, so it'll become patchier and shiftier as we go. But, the sailors are used to that. That is what an offshore wind is. So, I'm sure we'll hear Matt talk about big wind shifts and big wind angles out there. We've got around 8 to 14 knots. That's probably what we're going to see for the next few hours. We have to talk about the sea breeze, because there is the chance that as it gets much warmer over the mainland, that southwesterly sea breeze does try to form. But at the moment, it's very cool over there. It's only about the temperature of the Solent. So at the moment, fingers crossed, this will hold for the majority of racing.
Good. Well, we look forward to the cracking last day of racing, and let's hear a little bit about what happened yesterday. And in the Cape 31s, it was Russell Peters who won once again, and it looks like he's won the week. Let's hear from Matt and Russell.
We had a good day, and a very, very tricky day, but we had a good day. We were third in the early part, and then we second beat, we got good shift, got quite a good lead on, and then it was relatively easy from there. I'm not saying not stressful, but relatively easy. There was a few shifts after that, but nothing quite as big as there'd been early on. So
there were strange weather conditions, weren't there? Because we started off on a sea breeze, and then that decayed and let the gradient breeze come through.
Yeah, and the transition between those two was tossing a bit of the dice, rolling the dice a bit. But Brett, our tactician, did a fantastic job of weaving our way through the transition zones. Good fun, good day.
It looks like you may well have won the class overall with a day to spare.
I think so. I'll have to check that nobody's protesting us or anything like that, but I think we have, yeah.
Well, congratulations. Thanks. I mean, another success. I mean, you're quite you've won here before. I mean, what is the secret to success overall in cows, and then what do you think the secret to success in the Cape 31 is?
In anything at cows, it's getting a right team, knowing where you are on the water, me being able to concentrate on steering, lots of good trimmers. However small your boat is, it's a team and it's got to be good. And as to me, these boats get bigger. I normally sail a 3-man boat, so 7-man, bigger team, same principles. All got to be good and gel together. Try and get them to bed early at night.
That must be the biggest challenge at times, I suspect.
Sometimes, but we generally have enough people concentrating on boat speed and keeping the boat going, and enough people working out where we are on the other boats and what the tide is a very massive thing, and knowing the little gains to be made there.
There's a lot of talented sailors. I'm not saying you haven't got them, but I mean across the fleet, I've been blown away by the talented sailors that there are here. Olympic medalists and world championships.
Medalists, and things like that. It's incredible. To win is very, very pleasing, especially against the level of talent that there is. There's a lot of people that have won a lot of trophies, but there are also people sailing with their daughters, and I've got 2 of my daughters on board, and one of their boyfriends. It's good. It's marginally too professionals for my enjoyment, but there is certainly a good standard of people in the fleet.
And finally, what is it about the class? I mean, we saw 7 boats here last year. We've seen 17 entered here this year. 18 entered, okay. 18 entered this year.
2 didn't last very long with hitting rocks and things like self-inflicted wounds, which is a shame for them. Why these boats are what the Solent has needed for quite a long time, in my opinion. To me, there's a lot of boats that I wouldn't be bothered to sail. I wouldn't get enough fun out of sailing them that I can afford. I'll mention one. I've got nothing against them, but a J109 is a good boat. It's not an exciting boat. It's not, And then you go bigger, and there's the fast 40s that just does so much money a year. And these are one design. They're smallish, 7 people, not too many. Bigger than a J70. It's a better boat than a J70, in my opinion. And I think it's not surprising that it's doing well, in that it is for example, in the Round the Island race, we're 31 foot. I think we finished about 8th boat round the whole of the island. So they're pretty fast boats and fun. And so I think it's a pretty obvious boat that was going to do well, in my opinion.
And Matt Sheehan there with Russell Peters in the Cape 31 Squirt, winning, we think. Can't have to wait for the prize giving to really find out, but that's the Cape 31's fantastic class here. Now, Matt, of course, has been doing his dock walk every day, and we've sent him out towards the docks again. Whereabouts are you, Matt?
Good morning, it is day 7, and what a different day it is. It's a real fresh feel to the day. We've got a northerly breeze, clear blue sky, quite a strong breeze out there at the moment. It's got that real sort of vibrant feel to the day. Now, I'm down here in the haven once again, but I'm in a quieter corner of the haven. It's actually the private berthing pontoon which we've come round to. And the reason I've come round to it, because I want to find Peter Morton. And he's sailing a Swan 36 called Scherzo. And the reason I want to find him, and I think he's down here, is because Peter and his crew are currently lying second overall in Black Group by just a fraction of a point to Adam Gosling's Yes. And what fascinates me is not only the battle that might be shaping up between those two boats, but they could not be two more different boats vying for the top spot in Black Group. Yes is a modern, high-performance inshore-offshore boat. This is a gorgeous Swan 36, the very first Swan that Nautor Swan ever produced. Not this actual boat was the first one, it was the first model. And it's considered to be quite a classic. Here's Peter, I can see him here. Morning, Peter.
Oh, Matt, morning.
How are you?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah. Yes, well, what is all this about? I mean,
do you want to step on board?
Yes, okay, that's a good idea. Let me climb aboard without falling in the water. That'd be good. I mean, firstly, what a beautiful boat.
Thank you.
It's a bit different to what you've had before, isn't it?
It's entirely different, yes, but I was getting quite old and finding more difficult to get a really good crew for the previous boat we had.
Right. I'm just gonna. Could you just slide around that way because you're just in the shade there. There we go. And just turn that way because we've got Karina there. There we go.
And I've got a couple of grandchildren, not that old, but anyway, no, 3 grandchildren. What am I talking about? 3 grandchildren. And I just thought it would be quite nice if we got something that the kids could sail, my daughters and their son-in-laws and so on. So we looked at the Kinchester 32 and then thought, a bit small, and found one of these.
Oh, lovely.
And then then the trouble started. Came down from Scotland on a truck, went to Hamble for a while to dry out, came over here, went to David Heritage for almost a year and a half, and he's produced what's here now.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
He does etchels and builds other stuff, and he's also restoring. You've probably seen Souvretta.
Yes.
He's got a Souvretta which is going to hit the water soon as well.
Fantastic. So how have you been getting on? You're in IRC class...
IRC 6 with a group of Sigma 33s and a couple of Mustang 30s, one particularly well sailed one by a chap called Ian Handley, who's from, you probably know him, from the Royal Southern. Yeah,
he's been sailing those for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and he's always beaten us until this week. So this is the first week. He stuffed us in the Round the Island race. And this is the first time we've actually got on top of him each day, which is rather nice, actually. Except bar one day when he won.
Right. And your performance this week has now put you in second place overall by a fraction of a point behind Adam Gosling.
Yes, well, in the previous boat, we were always behind Adam as well, so there's nothing new. I'd be surprised if they let it slip, knowing Adam, but anyway, let's see what happens. And it's... and we've still got to beat Ziggy, which is in the next class down, and he's had exactly the same set of results as us, and I imagine because he's on the same points that he's got the same number in the class. So it's getting close. Anyway.
And it's a strange situation in a way, isn't it? Because in Black Group overall, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can't have a game plan against the other because they're in a different class.
No. We, in the week terms for the group, the IRC 6, we've actually won the week now because unfortunately Ian had to retire from one race, and then on points anyway, we've done it. But so it's all down to, well, we've got a sail today, and if we won another race, well, we'll just have to see what happens. We hope that Adam doesn't win a race, I guess, and we hope that Ziggy doesn't win a race, and then we're there. But it's never happened to me before, so it's unlikely to happen now, I think, somehow.
Right, OK. And it looks like, I mean, just briefly, the weather conditions, there's a bit of confusion over what we're going to get today weather-wise, but at the moment, with the kind of breeze we've got, that would presumably suit you quite well.
Yeah, flat water, 12 to 15 knots suits us best. Everyone assumes because it's a swan it goes better in heavy airs, but it's so difficult to make up time downwind when the smaller boats start skipping past you. So yeah, I think if it drops a bit, it's better than stronger winds, oddly.
Interesting, yeah, that's not what we would have thought. Right, OK, well, that's worth bearing in mind. Good, well, best of luck. I mean, we'll pop over there now, see if we can find Adam. I'll see if I can psych him out for you.
Well, would you? Yes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult.
One of my old crew members, Finn, over there, he might sort him out yet. Yeah.
Have you got any dirt on him I could sort of perhaps worry him with?
Dirt on Adam? You're joking.
Brilliant, Peter. Lovely to see you again. And, yeah, as I say, good luck.
OK, well done. Yep, thank you very much, man.
Right, let's go and see if we can. I don't know if we can find them because, actually, it was... what was it last night? Thursday night last night, and it was quite a big night in town. Mind the bag there. Quite a big night in town, and I suspect it might be a later start for some people. But anyway, we will go and have a look and go and see who we can find.
Well, yes, Matt is off to find, I think, IRC2 and Adam Gosling. But meanwhile, there was a great story unfolding yesterday, and we've heard about Ziggy all week, but Matt actually managed to catch up with Kevin out on the water.
So anybody who's been following the Black Group overall results will know that this boat, Ziggy, as you know, fun, is currently leading. Owned and skipper by Kevin Downer. Kevin, how did you get on today?
I think we've done okay, but with the rating system, there's a few boats behind us. They should be in about 7 or 8 minutes behind us, and we'll be okay. So yeah, fingers crossed. I think
You've been having a hell of a week.
it's been great. The boat's been going great. In the breeze, it loves it, and in the light, it seems to be okay.
We're so used to Cows Week being sort of the focus is sort of carbon and expensive and the rest of it. And with all due respect, this is not at that end of the scale.
Well, no, because if you look at our rig, I help out with the Etchells for David Franks, and when they tear their sails and break their masts, we use their recycled sails on our boat. Hence, the bottom batten is so low. It's an old Etchell mast. It's an Etchell jib. It's an Etchell mainsail. It's an Etchell spinnaker. It's an Etchell spinnaker pole. Joe Richards gave us a SP20 bulb to go on the bottom of the keel because we kept capsizing. So, but no, it's good. We love the IRC trickery.
That's fantastic. And I mean, just overall, I mean, what do you think the boat has cost to put together?
£1,000?
No. Really?
Yeah, I don't think much more than that. No, because the sails are time. But the sails were for free. The masts for free. Yeah, it's not much. The boat cost about £500 in the first place.
That is fantastic. I have to say that is probably made my week hearing that. As fantastic.
We lined up. We did the IRC Nationals, so we got the whole boat all measured up and endorsed, so we could do the IRC Nationals. And we were the smallest one out there, but we were the only one with white sails. Everything else had carbon. It was like,
Fantastic. Good on you. That's
good recycling. Good, just to keep going.
Absolutely. Well, it must be one of the greenest boats out here.
Maybe. Certainly recycled.
There we are, Kevin Downer on Ziggy, and Ziggy's been leading overall until yesterday when the discards affected results, and she's lying third overall, but a boat to watch out for. Less than £1,000, so there we go. So Matt's been out looking for Adam Gosling. Let's see how he's got on.
Right, now, we've come over the other side. We've found Adam Gosling. Obviously, you'll know him because we've spoken to him a few times already this week. Now, we've all had a look. Black Group, you're less than half a point ahead of that Swan 36 over there.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, well...
You're pretending you haven't looked. You've looked.
Yeah, no, I've looked at the results and I can see we're a little bit ahead.
but it's all down to today's race, and we'll go out there and do the best we can and see where it leads us.
I mean, that's the strange thing about the overall points, isn't it? You can't really influence anything on those because you're in different classes.
No, you've got no control, and of course it depends on the competition in the other classes. One year we've done it where we've had a very soft class. This year we've got a very competitive class, so it just makes you sail a bit better.
And you're sort of, how do you feel about today? Because we've got some odd conditions, because we don't normally get a fairly strong northerly breeze, do we?
Now, I think it's going to start fresh, and then it'll just drop off during the course of the morning. I suspect by kind of lunchtime, late lunchtime, it'll be fairly light.
And is that, will that suit you? I mean, what does this boat like?
She's very good all-rounder. We have found the weak points in the past, and we've addressed them. So she used to really struggle in the light, so we put more horsepower on the boat, and now she seems to go pretty well even when it's light.
Good. Well, good luck. You've won overall before more than once, haven't you? I can't remember how many times. It's quite a lot, I've got a feeling.
Yeah, we've done it a few times, and this boat actually, we won it about 6 years ago with this precise boat. Then we changed to an 1180, and then come back to this exact boat again. So we won it with this. We've won it with a Corby 29, and I think a Corby 30 as well.
Excellent. Well, good luck. And as you can see, it's impossible to psych this man out. He's been there before many times. So
done it a few years.
Lovely to talk to you, Adam, and good luck today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Well, there you go. There you go. All we need to do now is go out and have a look. See you out there.
Yeah, Matt Sheehan's back out on the commentary rib, and that was great to hear from Yes and Adam Gosling. So, Lawrence, we have a trophy, which is a bit of a tradition now. We've had various sizes. This is sort of medium size.
Yes, this is, and we've actually got two clubs today. So this is the Royal Southern Yacht Club's trophy for the J70 fleet, obviously a hotbed of J70 racing over at the Royal Southern. And in fact, Paul Ward, who was a board member at Cows Week, was the J70 World Champion a couple of years ago. So thanks to the Royal Southern for that. And we've also got Cowstown Regatta, which was one of the founding members of the Cows structure 135 years ago, running the racing here on the platform today. So two clubs today. And thanks to both of them for their hard work.
Right, well, we've more or less come to the end of the Musto morning briefing. It's been fun. You enjoyed it?
Yeah, I have. I've really enjoyed it. I hope that people out there have found it interesting. I know we've got viewers from all over the place. We've got viewers from the Caribbean, and often, bizarrely, we've got High Beach in Essex, which sounds like it should be in the Caribbean, but I've got a very good friend there who's watching it and enjoyed watching it. So thanks to everyone for their time with us on the platform here, and I hope you've enjoyed it too, Steve.
I have. Thank you, Lawrence. Great. Well, let's get into co-commentary mode. Oscar Mead and myself will be commentating on the starts here on the squadron line right after this.
Three, two, one.
Good morning. It's the 5-minute gun about to go off here. Warning signal for our first class here. Oscar Mead, welcome to the last day already.
I know the week has just absolutely flown by, hasn't it? And we're already here on the last Friday of Cows Week. Seems like we were just setting up yesterday for day one.
Yes, indeed. Day one, 7 days ago. Well, we have a shot of Bullet with an E. And that's in the quarter tonner, which is now starting on our line, the first start here on the squadron line for the quarter tonners. And we'll bring you who is leading overall in quarter tonners. And the quarter tonner, of course, a bit of a rule where you can bend things around. The designers have a heyday, don't they?
They really do, and amusingly, this class being led by Bullet, and second in class is also Bullet. So a couple of similar names, but with an IT for the leader and ET for second place. And as you say, class rules vary quite a lot. So you see great variation in shape. Some of these classic designs, longer transoms, and also some of the slightly more modern, squarer hull shapes that we're sort of expecting.
Yeah, not too many quarter tonners in here, but overall the results with 1 day to go, obviously, and with a healthy lead, it's Bullet with an I, Julian Metherell.
Yeah, they've had a fantastic week, so they're hopefully going to have a really nice day to round off their week. Should be able to see their course shortly for this fleet. Now, an interesting one, we've been talking about this beat up the shore, and they've got that classic Solent beat up the Cowes Green here, over to Cowes Yacht Haven, down over to the mainland with a jibe mark at tack jibe set appropriately, and then all the way back to the island shore before finishing on the Schrape.
Yes, a bit of a reach finish here, so quite a short course today. They want to make sure that racing is completed, ready for the big prize giving this evening at 7:30. Yeah, so Bullet with an I is leading with just 5.5 points. And then behind them, Louise Morton's Bullet with an E on 13. So they've got to get it really wrong today, Bullet, in order for Bullet to overtake them.
We're going on board here with Bullet, with Louise Morton. It's all-women crew on Bullet, so having a really good week for them. And I know that Louise is super competitive, so she'll probably be frustrated with second place, but we've had a chance to watch them start a couple of times this week, so it's been interesting to watch that battle unfold.
Well, what a beautiful day it is. Look, clouds in the sky, nice high cloud base, and boats on the start line. Let's just check in with Matt Sheehan. And a lovely day, Matt.
It certainly is. It is very nice indeed. The breeze is certainly still holding up at the moment. The tide is just starting to turn and move to the east, and it's all good. It does sound a little bit like you're broadcasting from a stadium, Steve.
It does, yes. But yes, you've got.
Sure what that is.
No, well, we'll leave you with it, Matt, and we'll cover the start from the squadron line as we look at our lovely drone shots as well. Here is the boat that had a bit of an issue, I think, earlier in the week, Oscar.
Yes, unfortunately, finding the rock on the green as the tide went out there, the low tide on the green exposing some of those slightly further offshore rocks, and we watched them park it quite hard. They did manage to get themselves off, extricate themselves from their little conundrum, but wasn't the day they were looking for. I think on Wednesday we started to see that. So good to see that they're back out and racing and no permanent damage for them. So excellent.
Yeah, the Theseus in the British Racing Green.
It's a wonderful colour, and I love that yellow stripe that goes down it. It looks great. So here we go back on board with Bullet, just having a look up and down the start line here. So what we were expecting, different to what we've seen for the rest of the starts this week, the breeze now a northerly, coming straight down from Southampton Water, straight down top of picture, straight towards us. And usually we're looking to see the boat starting going upwind, up on the tide, but here it's going to be probably the majority of the fleet. I'd be very surprised if we see people starting on port. So it's going to be a starboard tack timed run into this start line with about 52 seconds to go here. You can see them starting to line up. We've got a quarter tonner just on the right of picture here with the dark grey sails and the Kevlar jib.
Perseus.
Theseus.
Theseus,
just doing a turn. So the tide is going to start to turn deeper water, so be turning on the shore earlier, so closer to the camera as we look down at the start cam. And again, we've said this all week, we can see the yellow outer distance mark. Look, it's over the start line, so if you're anywhere near the yellow outer distance mark when the gun goes, you're going to be over. But most of the quarter tonners being conservative, the first of the fleet just coming in on the right hand side of shot there, Theseus you were just mentioning, that great British Racing green colour. 14 seconds to go. They're thinking about it. I think they're going to be a little early here with 10 seconds to go. Oh, it looks like they're going to be a little bit close. It's going to be right on.
They've got room to.
I think they're going to be over. They think they're okay, and I think they're wrong. So, best
individual recall.
Best start here from 4320, bottom left of picture.
Hellaby
going well, right as the gun went there. So, I think that's Peter Morton's new boat, actually.
Yep, that's Hellaby.
Really nicely set up as they come out. Look, lovely clear air. And they're going to be in good tide here, and as we expected, all starting on starboard. They got a nice clean run. We're not going to have those tacking jewels up and down the beach that we've seen earlier in the week.
Good start then, Matt.
Yes, indeed, it was. Well, they didn't have. They had plenty of space to get themselves lined up, didn't they? And it's an interesting first leg because this is the first time we've seen a reaching start. So really you sort of commit yourself to the line and then send yourself west. There's not too much in the way of tactics here, other than to stay a little bit further inshore so you're out of the tide.
Yeah, well, they've got a bit of a fetch to the first mark as they pass by the trimaran, but it's been on the moorings for a while. You can see the tide effect there, definitely heading to the east, the flood tide. And then the quarter tonners will be beating over to the mainland and run back towards us here and a reach for the finish.
And we were worried that there wasn't going to be much wind this morning. We were expecting that northerly we're seeing now to be cancelled out by the southwesterly building coming from the other direction, but at the moment all the boats nicely powered up as they fetch. You can see sails eased here, easing the main there in the puff as they keep the boat nice and flat, all the crewway out on that weather side. So really nice fetching start for the quarter tonners to round off the last day of Cows Week.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we should move, I think, to look at, the quarter tonners really actually having a lovely day. They're perfect conditions.
Beautiful, isn't it? Just the classic Cows Week.
The weather overall really has been very kind to us this week.
I think I was talking to Lawrence this morning and he was saying it's one of the first years where he thinks they haven't lost a day to bad weather, so excellent week this year.
Good stuff too. Okay, well those are the quarter tonners. We'll see them back fairly soon, I would think, in this breeze. Although the indicator is 9 knots. That normally comes, I'm told by Fiona behind the scenes, that normally comes from Bramble, which is over not too far away to the northeast from us. But that's unfortunately been broken, so it's picking up the one bit farther to the east down at Chichester. So that's the breeze down at Chichester.
And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they had less wind than we're seeing here at Chichester. The land formation we can see it funneling out of Southampton Water towards us, so probably under-reading that 9 knots in the top right there.
So one deciding to go quite close to the coast here, or the shore of the island anyway, and
I have to say my money here is on second boat out from the shore. Here we're on board with the closest inshore boat, and I think this is Morty's Hellaby, right up there. And they're nicely positioned, but looking a little soft by comparison to some of the other boats that we were seeing slightly further offshore. So a little bit further out would be be my call, but that's easy from the commentary position. We have a drone shot to be able to see everything from the sky. So the eye from the sky making calls more easy. And you can just see a little bit more puff here for this boat, bottom right of picture, nicely powered up. Just starting to overhaul Hellaby, who's all the way inshore, slightly less tide, but also looking like slightly less wind in there.
Yeah, Hellaby's lying fourth after the 6 races we've had, and they had to count a retirement on Saturday, so they could do with ditching that and perhaps getting into the chocolates in the top 3. So we should leave them, I think, to their race course, because we need to come back to the Flying 15s, where we have the unusual situation where men behaving badly, with Rupert Onder there, having won every race so far, and having as well the choice of discarding a win. Now, you don't often do that, is it?
You don't get much more of a commanding position in a fleet than being able to discard a win, so they'll be very pleased. Hopefully we'll see their course in a second, and we can see probably a similar course to the quarter tonners. There we go. Slightly shorter leg off to the mainland side, but very similar. Up to Gurnard Ledge, a slightly longer beat, a nice fetching, reaching leg down to Greenings, and then back to Royal Cork and finish here at the Royal Yacht Squadron. So interesting but similar course. We'll see some good reaching, which Flying 15s are really going to like. As the breeze builds here, they can actually get up and go. These boats will plane when they get a good puff, so should be a really nice afternoon, and we'll see that now in this fetching start.
Yep, 25 seconds to go. The boat to keep an eye out for is GBR 3779. That's men behaving badly. And close on their tails all week has been Forced Family Fun, Richard Jordan. Forced Family Fun is GBR 3940. Those are the sound numbers to watch out for as we count down to the start. They're all well shy of the line.
And just looking here, 3369 going to get a really nice start here. Timed it beautifully, but really far out in the tide. So maybe expecting to see them bearing away a little bit, trying to build some speed and come back inshore. 3288 here, bottom left, bottom right picture. Sorry, as we look at them.
For the week.
They look good, but they look light, don't they? Here on the bottom of the picture compared to 3969 out there by Matt in our commentary rib.
Yep, let's have a quick chat with Matt.
I can tell you why they're out here, Oscar. I've just gone all the way up the line to have a look, and there is a lot less tide out here at the pin end, a lot less tide against them. If you start close to shore, you've got plenty more tide against you. This is the favoured bit. Plus, if you start out this end, you can actually just about set your kite for the first leg, which is what we're starting to see them do.
We just see here 3654 in the middle of picture, the red spinnaker being hoisted. So going to be a little bit freer, as you say, than Matt being able to hoist and run down to miss the corner of Egypt Point just on the left side of the screen.
This is Forced Family Fun, which is in second overall, 3940.
Now, interesting, Matt was talking about that tide there, so the tide not having quite turned right in the middle in the deeper channel, deeper water, so not paying to go up the beach at the moment. That'll change as the afternoon goes on.
Yep, here come the kites. And then
a couple of people really pressed. You can see left of picture the white and red spinnaker 3779, I believe.
Yes, that's the leader.
That's men behaving badly, but they are really pressed coming out just behind the mainsail here. Look at them hiking out. We said this before as on the windy day earlier in the week that Flying 15 speed directly proportional to how much your legs hurt. So, and looks like the blue and white kite just going out of shot there, having all kinds of problems. Kite flapping, main flapping, so not settled for them yet.
It's a real tight reach for them, isn't it? You're only just about holding the kites here.
It's really going to be a challenge, and you can see some people. They're okay here as we go on with 3969.
Cruise missile.
Just in a lull, and they're okay. But you can see when they get a big puff, look, crew heeling out, spinnaker flapping. So when they get a big puff, they can't quite hold the angle, and they're forced to dump that power.
Yeah, they're just trying to squeeze around to stay in the tide so they don't go too far into the shore. Yeah.
Big old powerboat coming through their fleets, and look at the red spinnaker about to go through their chop. Look, it's like a wave warrior moment. They've got to fight their way back through the chop of the powerboat. So that's going to hurt these boats coming down from the bottom of screen. They've got to go through all of that lumpy water. Some of the other boats to weather are going to have that as a mini surf, even if they can get the angle right. But men behaving badly, top middle of picture with the red and white spinnaker just behind their mainsail. Looking slow here, looking like they can't hold it. I think we'll start seeing some spinnaker drops happening. In fact, men behaving badly, dropping the spinnaker as I say that. So couldn't quite hold the angle as they get closer to Egypt Point.
Yep, the kite's gone away on the class leader. 3726 we are with, and that's Riff Raff.
You can see them there. They've got a sort of built-in spinnaker sock right on the bow. There's a tube that runs inside the boat, so very quick hoists and drops on Flying 15s. You can just suck it straight down into the boat and get rid of it. But one or two boats still persisting, trying to hold 654 here, top of picture with the red spinnaker, still trying to make it work. They're a little bit further offshore, so they can afford to bear away and hang on to that spinnaker a little bit longer.
Yep. Well, great stuff in the Flying 15s, and that's a great view as well of the position from our drone. And as you say, the ones that are farther upwind, hanging onto that kite just.
Doesn't look like it's actually paying for them. They're falling into the leaders here, men behaving badly on the right of picture. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds as the afternoon goes on.
Okay, let's get back to the start line. The next start here for us on the squadron is the sonars, and quite a lot of the sonars as well, up from the Cowes Corinthian Yacht Club, where we were last night.
They've been very punchy this week on start, so it's going to be really interesting to see with a minute to go. You can see a few boats on the right-hand side of the screen here with the graduated lines as their logo, red graduated lines on the top of their mains. So they're already thinking about lining up 50 seconds before the start line. And the line, don't forget, the yellow mark is currently over, it's to the left of the start line as we look at it.
Yep, absolutely. Just a quick look at their course as well, see if we are any different. Oh, in fact, it's quite a short course. Down to Cowes Yacht Haven, up to Greenings, back down to Royal Cork, and a reach to the finish.
Finishing lots of boats on the squadron line, so it's going to be really busy on the green this afternoon. Loads of boats coming back into finish, so it should be a wonderful spectacle for the last day.
Very close overall in the standings. Jenny is 1 point clear of ACF Dolphin, so very close for them.
We'll just see boats coming in, and you can see 699, I think it is, here on the right-hand side of picture. They're very early, but everyone else having a very conservative start, which is odd because we've seen some real bunches happening in the middle of this fleet as they come in. So
line clear,
and if they can get up to speed here, they're going to be nicely ahead. 609 it was, sorry.
609, that's Fiscal, who's been up there in amongst the chocolates. Fiscal is in 5th overall.
So really bow forward on the rest of the fleet, but couldn't quite get the boat speed going right at the start gun.
Matt, you're right at the line.
Yes, indeed. And the two tactics that are becoming quite clear at the moment with this much weaker tide out here is that, one, you need to start out at the pin end of the line. That is absolutely clear because there's less tide here. Two, if you can, hoist the kite and use the kite down this leg. But the trouble is, if you have to bear off a little bit, you start to get swept sideways by the tide and you get sucked in towards the island shore, and you can't afford to do that. So it's a very fine balance. It doesn't look like there's much tactics and strategy on a reaching start, but it's a fine balance between getting it right and getting your nose ahead and actually being swept in towards the island.
Well, there we are. You heard it out on the commentary boat by the pin end of the line. But the sonars, all of them, are nicely underway, and it was good to see them, as we say. But Jenny is the one that keep an eye out for, just 1 point ahead of ACF Dolphin. And we did see, Matt, very briefly to say that we saw Andy Castle. That's at Andy Castle Foundation is Dolphin number 2.
We certainly did, yes. It was good to see him there at the Cowes Corinthian. The other thing I have to say is that suddenly it feels like someone shut the door for the breeze, and it has just dropped quite dramatically for the moment. We were seeing a very nice 10, 11 knots true, quite happily at the end. It's suddenly dropped down, but currently it's 7 knots. And you can just see that in the sonars. They've really sort of slowed up a bit. So fingers crossed that that's a temporary sort of lull coming through. But of course there is always the nagging worry that this is part of the breeze shutdown that was forecast earlier today.
We'll have a little word with Fiona in a minute about that. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, it's quite a high cloud base, but the clouds are building a little bit. Let's hope the sun doesn't heat the ground too much and kill off this gradient northerly breeze.
Now we can see different tactics here. The sonar fleet having slightly bigger spinnakers, slightly more cumbersome to get them up and down. So the fleet taking a conservative first leg, at least as far as Egypt Point. We might see some spinnakers after that, but no one wants, as Matt was talking about, to get sucked down and swept across the tide. So everybody having to work a 2-sail fetch as they start this fleet. So nicely done here. We're on board with Discovery, sailing nicely. You can see they've got the crew weight right in the bottom of the boat, try and keep it down.
And that's ACF Dolphin just behind them in 2nd overall, 602.
going nice, but all the boats very similar speed in these conditions. It's going to be difficult to gain a huge advantage on this first leg, and as they turn at the first turning mark, they've got a true beat, assuming this breeze holds, they've got a true beat straight across to the other side of the Solent, so at that point you can be much more tactical, but you've got to just stay in the fight for this first fetching leg off the start line.
Yeah, no one going for a spinnaker like the Flying 15s.
Still some jib trim though, there's still room here to be gained. You can see 696 in the middle here, jib still flapping, so you can still lose a bit of time. Got to stay on that sail trim, and you can see 602 here beautifully powered up here, middle of picture, so really nice conditions as they sail down the Solent, but none of those early tacking jewels that we saw in the week with this new wind direction.
Absolutely. Well, there we are. That's the sonars well and truly underway. We can now come back and look at the start line for the next class here on the white group, which are being started on the squadron line, and that is the Redwings, and a lot of Redwings there are too.
Just see one coming into the right of shot here, so the Redwings with that iconic thin mainsail, you can pick them out really easily as we come up to a minute. See the fleet here off on the right hand side of picture just coming in. They're going to have a conservative start, but lining up quite early.
Yep, the Enigma, Mark Downer and family, is leading overall with just 9.5 points. Closely followed by Quail with 10.5. And Harlequin, that's the yellow boat, I'm pretty sure, is on 15 points. That's John Raymond and Matt Alexander.
So with 40 seconds to go, hopefully we have a quick look at their course, and we'll just quickly see, and exactly as we expect here, very similar to the other ones, beat up to Gurnard Ledge, well, fetch to Gurnard Ledge, beat across the Solent to Greenings, and then back to finish at the squadron. So very similar to what we're seeing with the other ones. No spinnakers on a Redwing, don't forget, so we won't see any hoists, even if they wanted to. They're going to have to fetch their way down here under 2 sails. 20 seconds to go, and you can see the fleet coming in on the right of picture. Big gaggle of boats, 15 seconds, all the jibs flapping as they try and slow down, stay behind the line. 21 in right in the middle, looked like they were nearly over. They've had to bear away, and they're going to come all the way inshore, which is going to hurt them. 15 going well with 3 seconds to go. Looks like they're going to be just on the line. Line clear.
No gun.
Didn't hear a gun, though.
There it is. Better late than never.
Not sure, a technical problem here for the gun, but nice start for 15. They're right in the middle of the pack, but I like 18. The yellow hull, middle of
That's
picture.
Harlequin.
Harlequin
Yes.
doing a really nice job. She's got clear air, she's got a lane, and she's in that tide.
Yeah, Matt, nice spread for the Redwings.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting. A couple of things have happened here. One, the tide. It's amazing how quickly this tide builds. It's now running much stronger at the pin end. Secondly, someone opened the door, thanks very much, and let the breeze back in. So the breeze is now back up into around sort of 10 knots. And it's interesting to see that the race leaders, Enigma 46, chose to start mid-line. And I think they've been sailing up and down the line and had a look at that tide and had seen that actually they didn't need to go all the way out, and that going down the middle was probably the best way to go. The other thing that's significant with these Redwings, as you've mentioned, is that they don't have a spinnaker, so they don't have to worry quite so much about being at the far end of the line, because they're always just going to reach down the middle of the lane. So interesting starting tactics there.
We have our 46 on the right hand of our picture, and 46, of course, is Enigma, as you say, staying fairly, wanting to keep an eye on other boats, and just to windward of Quail, who, of course, is in second place overall. So, yeah.
Really tight battle for those two, and we were just talking about having to foot along here, and you can see Quail just slightly inching ahead, just in maybe slightly better trim, hard to tell from our off picture here, but both boats doing a really nice job and just separating themselves a little bit from the rest of the fleet here. You can see the gap slightly building as they fetch away down the green.
Yep, but Mark Downer and family here on Enigma just keeping a very close eye, match racing style on Quail.
They really are. That's a covering position, and both boats here just wanting to sail to this corner, so they're not going to engage each other, I wouldn't have thought, in these early stages, because they don't stand to gain anything by ending up in a little scrap together. So just got to stay forward of the fleet. You can see their bottom left of picture here with the fleet up inside them. So plenty of control for them, and they can bear down, take more speed. If they want to get back inshore, get over the fleet, they can just bear away a bit and close the gap with the fleet inside them.
Yeah, great view of the spread of the fleet as they make their way westwards in the tide, and cracking day for them. There's then on the left-hand side is the current leader, and on the right-hand side the boat chasing them to try and get in front of them. And a bit of a burst of speed by Enigma.
You could just see those little puffs rolling down, and Enigma being slightly to weather with northerly, picking up that puff. You see them squirt ahead, and then Enigma to leeward just picking it up as well. So Quail just to leeward, picking it up and matching the speed. So nothing between these two boats as they fetch down the green.
In fact, all three boats now, 1, 2, 3, are in view. It says Harlequin, the yellow hull, just in the middle of the screen there behind Quail.
Now, big separation inshore and offshore. On the left of picture here, we have the class leaders 1 and 2, and to the right of picture, we have the yellow of Quail. So really different. Of Harlequin, sorry. Apologies.
Harlequin, yes.
All my boats mixed up this morning.
It's quite all right. It happens. There's lots of them.
So a minute and a half to go. We come back to the Solent Sunbeam class here on the start line. A similar course, I'm sure we will see from for them.
Yep. Very similar. And, down to Cowes Yacht Haven of Gurnard, up to North East Gurnard, down to Royal Cork on a run, and then fetch to the finish. Just coming up to their 1 minute warning. V on the sail for the Sunbeams.
Doing a few loops here. They've got the other starts that they've just had to sort of gauge where they think they want to start, and lots of boats starting right in the middle of the line. As we look down here, you can see them sort of creating a little bunch, and it'll be interesting to see. I think we'll see a more conservative middle line start, which Matt was just pointing out seems to have paid quite well for some of the previous Redwings. So
V26 here is very important because this is Danny, and Danny's lying second overall for the whole week. In other words, the white group overall prize. So, doing very well, Danny.
Doing really well, having a really good week, so they'll be pleased, and I'm sure they'll be looking to round off their week with a really good result. As we see two boats right in the middle of the picture, they've got to be bang on the line. You can see 13 seconds to go, and the problem with being there with 10 seconds to go now is that they haven't got a chance to build any speed. The moment they pull those sails on, they're going to be over the line, so they're going to have to wait. As you can see, it looks like number 11 with the white hull having to bear away.
Harmony.
Couldn't
all clear. Wow.
build any speed, but
just made it.
Now the boat I like is just coming out of picture behind them, because they were going really fast. 36 top left of picture here. You can see they're doing really well. Had a really nice start with speed, so not necessarily the closest to the line, but moving the fastest when the gun went.
That was Melody, number 36, but 26 in the foreground here is Danny, and Danny doing extremely well. 68 to windward of them is Sky.
Now, really, again, we're talking about the separation, this different opinions in tactics and tide. So, a couple of boats, Danny here coming right into the shore. Look at them bearing away, getting even closer to the shore. So they're trying to get out of out of this negative tide that's going to be coming down. But the rest of the fleet still staying offshore a little bit. So, differences in opinion as we see them sail down the green.
Yep, and they carry forward 4 firsts, Danny, and a 5th. So Roger Wickens certainly showing how it's done.
Definitely, and I'm sure the rest of the fleet will be starting to look at Danny, who's right down here on the beach. The whole fleet out to the right of picture. I'm sure we'll start to see a few boats bearing away and just trying to stay in similar spot, because if the leader's on the beach and you're in the tide, you're going to have to question where you're sailing.
Okay, other boats to keep an eye out on, although, as I say, Danny has a clear lead. They have 9 points overall. On 21.5 points is Kitty Simon Perkins. And Kitty,
Danny just ran aground, 26.
Oh!
Right on the beach. So pushing it too far. You just saw them come to a grinding halt right in the middle of picture here. And the crew member making their way out to the leeward shroud. Look, they're trying to heel the boat over, but the boat's still pointing in towards the beach, so that's really going to hurt them. Pushed it just too far.
Well, and it's a long way offshore, isn't it? At least 100 metres.
It's really quite low tide, and in fact this is the same cluster of rocks that we saw that quarter-tonner Sigma 33 as several boats go aground on in a similar start about 2 days ago. So Danny absolutely planting themselves on the beach, unfortunately, and they're going to struggle to get off there, I think, but tide is starting to come back in, so they will be released before the prize giving. That's the good news.
Well, they've managed to move on one, but they're still grounded.
And the problem is they haven't managed to rotate the boat yet. You can see them trying to turn the boat round. At the moment, they're still sailing into the beach, which is going to be difficult. And this northerly blowing them down as well onto the beach. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge. You can see we've got the TV rib behind them, so they can give them a hand if they get really in a pickle. But difficult to extricate yourself from that position.
Ooh, disaster for Danny then.
You can see, I think we'll start seeing another crew member probably joining them as soon as they can turn the boat round a bit, but we might even see them have to take the main down here to do a full spin, see them easing the main. The rest of the fleet here offshore probably feeling a little smug about being further offshore, but in a little more tide. As we see a few spinnakers in the top right of shot, you can see a few people managing to carry those kites down towards Egypt Point.
Well, yeah, Roger Wicken's still sitting in the back of the boat. I think he's going to have to go and go up to the shroud and start heeling the boat over a bit more. Roger?
We've got a little cluster of boats offshore here. You can see them all out in the tide, still really close after this start. So just fetching down a few spinnaker poles. We just see the black spinnaker pole of boat number 1 starting to go up. So they're starting to think about a hoist. And they've got a bit of a bear away. Black spinnaker pole of 64, apologies. And number 12 here, as we move to them with the blue, just starting to get their spinnaker sorted as well.
Looks like Danny's got going again.
They have managed to get themselves off that rock, so done a nice job there. Maybe a little puff came in and released them. They are rightly tacking back out. They think they've had enough of being on the rocks today.
Okay, so let's cross back to the start line. So we're counting down to 1 minute to go for the next fleet to get underway. We leave Sunbeams, and these are the Squibs. Boat to keep an eye out for, of course, Aquabat, number 13.
Easy to pick out. She's the one with the blue aquamarine hull, and you can just see her. She's the boat left of picture, furthest away from us. So everyone's sitting there with just under a minute to go, jibs flapping. They've all chosen the outside end of the line, so they're all going to stay as a little gaggle, as it looks like Danny has run aground again on the way back out. There's a hook of rocks right there, unfortunately, and it looks like they've got themselves stuck in that ring of rocks. So they're going to have to untangle themselves. There's 25 seconds to go. We see the Squib still, and a little bit of their course, similar to what we've seen again, this long fetch down to Gurnard Ledge, a nice beat across the Solent, and then back down to the Royal Yacht Squadron. So now we've got a boat here, whoever this is leading, I can't quite read the sail number, 95 I think it is. Looks like they're bow over the line already, so they're going to have to go back. 2 boats, in fact. You can see the black hull behind them bearing away.
3 boats now.
Noticeably, individual recall. 20 looked like they were over, 95 looked like they were over, and 147 maybe right on the line. The tide having turned, we see that yellow mark has drifted back. At the moment, it's lying almost bang on the line because the tide's starting to turn offshore.
Yeah, 147 is Pot Black lying in second behind Aquabat.
Pot Black, very marginal on that start, I thought. It's very hard to tell, but
yes,
they're not going back. They think they were safe.
Well, they got clear air, yes. Aquabat up to windward of them, just hidden by number 833, but that 13 on the sail is Aquabat. And as I say, they lie only 5 points clear of Pot Black. So Pot Black wants to get a good score here, and Aquabat needs to be a little bit farther down the fleet.
Still looking a little soft. It looks like the breeze has dropped a little bit out there on the end of the line. The Squibs struggling to get up to speed as they try and fetch down the green here. So worst tide starting to build offshore. It's going to start being stronger out by the pin end. We'll start to see the fleets making their way a little bit closer into shore.
That's Pot Black, as you can see.
I've got a crew member to leeward, so really looking a bit light and fluky here at the far end of the line. But I have to say, looking out over the start line, it's definitely better for pressure at that far end. It gets worse and worse as you come into the beach, the breeze being blown up and over the hill.
Aquabat suddenly has found a bit of boat speed already because they've got out of the dirty wind from some of the other boats, and they're overhauling Pot Black. Kite ready.
They've made a huge gain here. Don't forget they were just behind 833, who's now almost disappearing out of right of picture. So not quite sure what they've done to do that. They must have just picked up a little gust and shot forwards, but really nice sailing from Aquabat as they fetch down here.
Oh dear, there's a very good shot of poor Danny.
And you can see the kelp, you can see all the seaweed here just off the bow. They are very much aground there, unfortunately. That's definitely not the way they wanted to end their Cows Week.
No, it isn't. Not good at all for Danny. Here's Pot Black, and it is Aquabat who's now overhauled them. See their spinnaker poles set to leeward, anticipating a hoist.
I think they've got these spinnaker poles that slide out. I think they've got little sliding spinnaker poles, and that's their storage spot, actually. So they pull them forwards from the leeward side of the boom. So interesting setup for them. Aquabat doing really nicely, but you can see a few boats, 619 left of picture, just outside them, still doing really well. That little puff coming down, getting to those weather boats first. So you can see 619 here, look, just picking the first of the puff up and overhauling slightly Aquabat. So pressure at the moment playing more of a part for the Squibs than Tide because they're so closely bunched together.
And Pop Back just picking up a bit of speed as well. Okay, time to leave the lovely Squibs and head towards Seaview Mermaids on our start line. 1 minute to go for them, and let's look at the course for Seaview Mermaids. Sorry, 2 minutes to go, even shorter course. Down to Cowes Yacht Haven, northeast Gurnard, upwind, down to Royal Cork, and a reach to the finish for them. Seaview Mermaids, let's look at who's been leading there. 12 points overall for Sheen, Ben Few Brown, and they count quite a few second places, and the worst result was 7th for them on Tuesday. And Sheen is U9, so U9 is the one to keep an eye out for. There's a few victories and X1 designs around the start line. They're not going to be very popular with the race officers because it's the Seaview Mermaids with the U on that are now counting down to their start.
You can always tell the Seaview Mermaids, really nice, colourful class. Unfortunately, these guys just not managing to extricate themselves. They are making some progress, but you can see they're picking up loads of weeds, so even if they get going again, it's going to be a hard afternoon of catching up. U10 here, middle of picture, the pink hull, Ad Astra. They're just coming to have a look at the line. You can see them coming back inshore again, but most of the fleet building up on this outside end down by the pin.
Big gust of breeze coming. Look at the flapping jibs now as they approach the line. 43 seconds to go. A bit early out there by the pin end.
Very early for the green and orange hulls, top middle of picture. They look very, very early. And Ad Astra, the pink here at the bottom, also way early. They're going to have to go back. They should be thinking about going back now. You see them pulling the helm up. 30 seconds to go, but over the line. Tide is against them here, so Tide will be pushing them backwards away from the start line. So that should help keep them honest. As you can see, the fleet bunching up at the pin. It's going to be about getting clear air, getting away cleanly here, because they're all so closely bunched. But they're all out in that tide, so back into the beach as soon as they come off the start line.
U6 is Rosemary in second place overall.
And 7, Zara in the blue here, looking really nice. Look, they had great speed there as the gun went. So really nicely positioned, Zara.
There's U6.
They're going to be in slightly less tide. Zara, U7, just blue hull. Slightly less tide than some of the boats outside them, but critically, they've got that clear air, and they should pick up the fresh air, the fresh breeze coming down sooner than Ad Astra, the pink hull, bottom left of picture. So really nicely positioned from them.
Yeah, nice fetch for these guys.
With this building breeze that we're having, this big puff that's just come in, I don't think we'll see anyone looking at spinnakers too soon in this class because they're not going to be able to hold them between here and the Egypt point. So won't be till after Egypt if they start considering spinnakers, I think, as we go with U4 here, who is Serena. Serena nicely positioned to get that early puff here on the windward side of the fleet.
Just a mention for Jade, that's the boat in third position overall, 17.5 points. And Jade is obviously green U5, and we saw U5 there, but U9 we have in our shot here. That's Sheen with the yellow hull, and the overall leader, Ben Few Brown.
Mimosa here, just number 13 with this light tan coloured hull on the right of picture. Going nicely, they've got themselves a nice little lane, and you can see them overhauling U1 Scuttle, the white one. You can see just taking distance out of them every time. That bow now overlapping the helmsman, you can see. So doing a nice job here. Lots and lots of changes in this early part of the race.
U9, the bright yellow on the left of screen. And here's a lovely shade of pink, I think you'd say.
I think so, yes. I think this is Ad Astra that we were looking at before, U10. So nicely sailing in as they get a little bit of help to get them off the rocks here from the 25. It's Joey, I believe.
Yeah, so, yep, Danny in...
Danny.
Yes, just getting off the rocks with a little help from the harbour master. Back to Seaview Mermaids.
And Mimosa right in the middle of the picture here, that lovely tan colour. So they've just dropped back. We were just looking at them there, overhauling U1 Scuttle at the front there, and they seem to have dropped back a little bit. So maybe Scuttle getting a little puff, staying ahead, but it's going to be very nip and tuck this whole leg. No one's going to be able to make a huge tactical advantage because we're looking at just a fetch for this first leg.
Yeah, and And there is U10 right at the bottom of the screen, and as you see, Ad Astra.
Big difference in tactics. You can see Ad Astra down all the way at the bottom, staying relatively close inshore. That tide turning left to right across the screen, coming back into the Solent. Low tide was at 10:15 this morning, so it's going to be against them left to right all day as we look out to sea. But most of the fleet bunched a little further offshore, and I think Ad Astra quite nicely positioned there. They're in less tide, and they're still in reasonable wind.
Yeah, that northerly breeze bringing a different set of tactics and conditions for them to sail. We can tell you that looks like Danny is retiring from the race as they're returning to port. So the Sunbeams are out to race for the other positions, but they had a pretty strong position in terms of overall.
Very soft. We can see the black hull here, Miranda U11, looking very light. Everybody's still looking for a bit of extra puff, and Miranda in a bit of danger here of getting overhauled by Rosemary, the orange hull. You can see Rosemary just taking little nibbles out of her the whole time, so quite difficult in these gusty conditions to just find the best of the puff.
Here's U9, leading boat, of course, Ben Few Brown in Sheen.
Again, we were talking about them. They're just overhauling. I think Mimosa is just to leeward of them, so they've picked up a bit more pressure, and they're now starting to get bow forward again as we go back to the Victory start.
Yes, quick look at the class and a quick look at the course. Just under a minute, or just over a minute to go. Quite short, down to Kyle's Yacht Haven, up to Greenings, down to Royal Cork, and after the finish. They're all following the same course. So, Victories are the ones. We're not the ones with the X, but the ones with the Z on the sail. They're all black hulls. Zilch is also doing very well in the overall. They're lying third overall. But Nick Benham, Ian Perriman and Clive Good are in Zilch. Zilch is Z75. That's the boat we're looking for. Z78 in our foreground is Ziva with a flapping mainsail.
She's fourth overall, I think, Ziva. So still having a good week, but sure hoping to have a good end of a regatta to round everyone off. Everyone wants that last day to be a good race so that you can end on a high, so I'm sure Ziva looking for a good position this afternoon.
Zinnia, Z69, with a bit of pace on, heading towards the line as we count down 12 seconds to go. Let's hopefully see the line here. 7 seconds to go.
Now we know that yellow mark was close, but look, now the tide has turned out at the pin. The yellow mark's drifted back. So nicely started. I quite like 78 here in the bottom of the picture. Nice position, just out of the tide. Ziva, if they can stay, they get the boat moving a bit here, they can start getting ahead of the fleet. A few more boats offshore. Most people choosing to start at that pin, but the tide definitely turning out there. So they're going to be sailing into less good tide. Better to be inshore here.
We want Z75. I didn't see her for the start. Not too sure where she appeared. Lots of boats, unfortunately. XODs getting in amongst the Victory start.
We can see 73 Seagull here just out at the pin. You can just see the main backing, so they're not up to speed yet. You've got to pull the helm away and get the boat really going. Looking over, 77 Pelican doing nicely. Just having to catch up in a bit of dirty air here, Pelican. Struggling to find a lane with 67 above them. That's Zircon. So getting a bit of dirty air off Zircon.
Yeah, 69 Zinnia out looking good, and 75 here is our leader, Nick Benham, and looking pretty happy. 69 down to leeward of them, but ahead.
Still looking quite light though. You can see the boats, the sails sort of going slack every time they go over a wave, so they've got a bit of work to do.
Yep, Cunningham tension on the leading boat quite soft. You see a few creases there, but that's to help make the sail a little fuller to create a bit more power.
Nicely positioned here to windward, though, of Zinnia. 69 is just to leeward, and you can just see them disappearing behind that mainsail. So the fleet quite close. We can see the boat we were just talking about right inshore. There's quite a difference of opinion here on where to be, but all the boats footing off slightly. You'll see them slightly coming back into shore as they get down towards Egypt Point.
There they are. That's the view from the drone of the Victories, and a lot of practice starts going on by the XODs. I know they're very keen, but they've been getting in the way of some of the other classes starts as we head out with the drone to the Victories.
Quite a big spread we were just seeing there with the drone. You know, quite a few people deciding different things. A few boats right out in the tide, a few boats further into the beach, but tide is against here, so right to left as we look at the screen. So you do want to be thinking about getting into some tidal relief closer to the shore. Obviously not quite as close as we've just seen a boat previously, so the last thing you want to do is be on a rock. But being inside, we've talked before about those orange moorings, and trying to be inside the orange moorings, definitely a good place to be.
Yeah, and
you can see actually
Victories, yes.
The orange moorings top right, so the entire gaggle of this fleet outside the orange moorings in that negative tide. So everybody taking the pain a little bit at the moment to make it in one tack all the way down to Egypt Point.
Well, fairly relaxed they are on zilch.
They are, and this first leg is going to be about staying in contact with the rest of the fleet. You can't make huge gains whilst all the boats are footing along, so you need to just be in contact. When they get to the corner of Egypt Point, the Gurnard mark, they're going to turn and go for a true upwind beat into this northerly, and at that point, that's when things will get much more tactical about which side, the tide, what they want to do, but they just need to get clean down to their first turning mark.
Okay, back to the start line, and in fact, moving on to the last start we're going to be able to commentate on. And that's the massive fleet of X1 Designs, the biggest fleet here. And, well, good to see the XODs just getting themselves lined up for the start. Here is their course, down to Gurnard Ledge, up to Greenings, back to Royal Cork. Very popular 3 or 4 marks, and to the finish. So let's look at the overalls. Now, big change here, because Astrolita's led pretty much all week, but she's dropped to 4th place overall. So the current leaders are Claire de Lune on 17 points.
Those discards making such a big difference. Claire de Lune being able to drop a 10th, which has really allowed her to rocket up the points. So really good for them. You can see look at the difference in fleet as they're spread all the way along the start line. 48 seconds to go.
Yep.
Huge differences of opinion. Some boats you can see off the bottom of the pin end here. You can see that tidal stream, that white foam appearing as the tide is pushing against the boat. So really wanting to move inshore. And I think we'll see this middle gaggle drift down towards the Royal Yacht Squadron, top right of picture, as they go up this beat, because that tide building all day. It's going to be pushing against them upwind.
Yeah, 25 seconds to go. X33 is the boat we're after. That's Claire de Lune. And hanging on to a narrow lead over the second place Swallow. Just 2 points clear. So it's all to play for, as they say.
Really going to be close here. 10 seconds to go as we come a couple of boats over right in the distance. So, and 1, 2, 3 right closest to picture. They definitely are going to be over. So they need to think about going back now, getting themselves untangled.
Individual recall.
Looks like they can identify which boats are over, but looking very light, the X-Boat fleet. Look at them, struggling to get up to speed. The breeze looks like it seems to have dropped across the Solent briefly. Hopefully that's only temporary and we'll get some more puff coming back in.
Who have we got here? Astrolita is the boat to actually keep an eye out for, because X91, as you say, is led all week, but it's down in 4th, so they really need to do improvement.
And no one going back. Very interesting. Everyone thought they were clean there, despite the individual recall flag. So it's few people going to have a disappointed afternoon. I thought there were 2 or 3 boats over there.
Should have gone to Specsavers.
Well, so easy from our commentary position with our line graphic to see it. But don't forget, they're having to line up a transit out there at the far end of the line. But breeze building now. You can see the boats getting up to speed. Those wake trails streaming out behind the fleet.
Yeah, 165 Tortoise and is in our screen at the moment, and they've done very well. Tortoise 165 and lying 3rd overall, John Clark.
They've been in the mix all week, and we've been seeing them diving in and out of start lines and having some really competitive sailing. So really good to see them in the top 3.
Yep, actually they're lying equal second on points. Swallow is Richard Faulkner's boat just ahead.
And just gone behind their mainsail was 33 Claire de Lune. She's right in the middle of the fleet here. She is the second boat in from the right, closest to the bottom of screen. So doing really nice. Bow forwards. She's maybe in a little bit of dirty air coming off of 165 that we were just talking about, bottom right of screen.
Tortoise.
But still really nicely positioned, able to get inshore if she wants to. She can bear away, get down to the beach, but also she can live in that lane where she's currently sat.
Well, there's 2 or 3 boats I think they're going to be quite disappointed, because they're going to be on course side at the end of the day for their race.
We've said this a couple of times this week, but Cows Week is a long day, and sometimes it's just not worth being over at the start. You can't gain very much by being 3 feet ahead, but at the end of the day, after 4 hours of sailing, to find an OCS against your score, demoralising. So not quite what they were hoping for at the end of their week.
Oh, now Tortoise, you can't miss her because she has one on her spinnaker, and her spinnaker is out, and they think they can hang on to it.
And first to hoist. I mean, they are a long way ahead of everyone else. You can see other crews not even considering it. And they're a little bit further offshore, so these boats just to the right of them, right in on the beach, going to struggle to be able to hoist and maybe hold a spinnaker here. Yeah. This offshore line allowing them to bear away in the gusts, keep that spinnaker flying as we see other boats going for the hoist now.
Yeah, well, that was the benefit of being on the outer end of the line. They could have the option of setting a kite, and there's a few more popping out of the forward end of these boats.
Now the leader, Claire de Lune, 33, middle of picture there, choosing not to go for a hoist. So Tortoise here we can just see with the white spinnaker on the right of shot 165. Claire de Lune, class leader inshore of them, still choosing to jib reach, but noticeably have now put their pole up just in case they want to go for that hoist to match Tortoise, who's doing well.
Yeah, Tortoise is a heavy boat, but they take a while to get going. But once they get the speed on, it was fairly obvious they were pulling ahead.
You can see it's still lots of boats here not thinking about it, but everybody putting the poles on just in case here. They want to be able to hold their lane. Not everyone able to hoist that kite right away. 119, middle of picture, doing well, but in a little bit of trouble. They've got 117 just to windward of them, so they can't come up, get pace on. They're a little bit trapped.
Yeah, a few of the spinnakers just holding breeze. The breeze has softened once again.
It's very soft out there. 66, the green boat on the right of picture, looking very light. And we'll go back on with Tortoise. And again, look how soft that spinnaker is. All the motions having to be damped down as Claire de Lune with a white spinnaker 33 now hoisted to leeward, but difficult, struggling to fill it. Pole all the way forward. You can see the pole being pulled down on Claire de Lune 33 with the white spinnaker, trying to straighten that front edge, almost make it a bit of an asymmetric spinnaker, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold them here. We're seeing boats having to bear away hard. Look at Tortoise with the grey spinnaker, all bunching together, getting really close. Claire de Lune, 33, middle of picture, not able to fill that spinnaker as we look at them.
The kite's dropped on 119. They're giving up with it.
Now, it looks like the breeze is going forward as they go, and we kind of expect this, because if the southwesterly, the thermal breeze kicks in, it could drag the wind angle all the way around to southwest, and we are seeing these boats headed on the shore, all of them dropping their spinnakers now. Tortoise still doing well, 165 left of picture, but getting a little bit overhauled by 77, who I don't have on my sheet, unfortunately. Oh, it was 177, that would be why, which is X-Ray. So a little bit overhauled by X-Ray Tortoise.
And quite a few boats really quite close to the beach here, but they've got past those horrible rocks, which Danny now knows rather intimately.
Yeah, I'm sure Danny won't run aground there ever again. That'll be ingrained in their memories for every Cows Week ever. So they've learned where those rocks are, but still a few boats right on the shore. 176, bottom left of picture. Nice position for them. They are bow forwards, and that less tide we can see. Look at them pulling forwards on the rest of the fleet out in the tide. They're not able to set a spinnaker, but they have less tide against them.
Yeah, and that breeze really softening now. The boats are slowed right up, and a big spread for the X1 design fleet on their last day.
Now, it'd be interesting to see if we can grab Fiona to have a conversation about the weather, because I know she's expecting the breeze to go left with the thermal kicking in. So this is probably the beginning of that, as you can see it go light. She's off doing important weather duties, so I'm not going to quite be able to grab her, but this is what we were expecting weather-wise.
We got the first tack as well. Look, someone's going across on port tack.
And you can see on the starboard tack, the tide actually pushing them in towards the shore, giving them that weather bow into the beach. So they're going to have to tack out just because of the tide sweeping them back towards the beach there.
Yep, 156 Gleam has tacked over.
176 Crumpet we were just looking at, but very light. Look at the fleet struggling out here in the tide, top right of picture, trying to find those little puffs to get down to the Gurnard Ledge Buoy. It's going to be a difficult afternoon tactically, and if that breeze shifts all the way around to the left, as we were just talking about, that's going to change the tactics for the rest of the race, because that leg all the way over to the mainland shore stops being a true beat and starts being a fetch/spinnaker run potentially, really tight cross for some port tackers coming out there. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that is probably going to be it from our cameras here because we're running out of range. And great to see the X1 Design fleet. Huge entry there and hot racing amongst them all. Still plenty to play for, especially as those top chocolates have changed place after all those discards from yesterday. Really going soft look down off the coast here. Those port tackers being put about by the starboard tacker.
This is going to return into a bit of a tidal race now. The breeze is dropping. It's going to be about staying a bit closer to that shore. And if you're out top right of picture, somewhere out in the tide, you're going to go backwards really fast. And they'll be hoping a bit of puff comes in and gets the fleet moving again. They don't have too much further to run down this shore to get to their turning mark, but it's going to be a difficult afternoon on that corner.
Right. Well, Oscar Mead, well done. Great week for you. Bit of an initiation into this platform position. Hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be part of Cows Week.
Lovely stuff. Okay, so Oscar Mead and Steve Ansell, we are going to wrap things up here on the line because we've run out of pictures. Lovely to see those X1 designs slowly making their way around the race course. But our live TV broadcasts now sadly have come to an end. Well, we hope you've enjoyed our coverage. If you have, send us an email. steve@cowsradio.co.uk will do, or of course through all the social media channels here on cowsweek.co.uk. There are many people to thank. Let's say all the race officers done a great job, and all the volunteers both out on the water and here ashore that allow you, the competitor listening, to enjoy the week's racing. Our thanks go to the team behind the broadcasting at NGR, the Results Services, Cows Radio presenters and engineers, and of course all the shore staff serving you in the clubs, the bars, the cafes and the restaurants of Cows. It's prize giving tonight, 7:30 p.m. at the event centre, and don't forget Matt Sheehan and I will be reviewing the regatta in this week at Cows on YouTube and Planet Sail. It's actually 7 p.m. for the lovely event centre prize giving this evening. So yeah, don't forget this week at Cows on Planet Sail, and I can wish you, Steve Ansell, and for Oscar Mead as well, good wins until 29th of July 2023.